You go ahead first.
Okay, so I'm Janet Arias. This is Edward Coons. We run one of the plant and seed libraries in Durham. Basically, it's just so people can drop off things like plants, seeds, pots, anything garden related, and then people can take what they need. Some people will bring something and then take something as well, which is really encouraged so we don't, lose everything that we have. But obviously some people can't, so we're totally cool with people taking what they need if they can't bring anything anyways.
No. We like to think of it as a collaborative and sustainable community effort driven by, fueled by, funded in quotes in terms of the actual things that are out there by our community. The idea is that we don't accept monetary donations. This is not an effort to make money or to build this thing into some sort of business. The idea is just to have something that we can give back to the people around us, that we can thank them for taking us into their community, thank them for being here, and let them know that their neighbors want to talk to them and help them out in whatever endeavors they're interested in. And to democratize gardening, because the problem that we've noticed with gardening and all of these wonderful different endeavors that you do in your backyard is that they're costly. That pots and planters, seeds, all of these things, they run up in the bucks as you keep going and you keep developing your space and spaces around you. And it should not be prohibited to just people who have a six-figure salary. We would like the plant library to encourage people to try whatever level of gardening that they believe they can do. Whether it's just taking one plant or taking dozens of seeds from here and sowing your whole backyard. The idea is we can provide some sort of impetus for somebody to get started who maybe never thought that they could.
Mm-hmm. On Facebook, it's labeled as the Central Southwest Durham Plant and Seed Library.
And the same on Google Maps.
Yep.
This differentiates us from the other Durham Plant Library, which is the North Durham Plant and Seed Library.
Yeah. And Community Garden.
Community Garden, yes.
Yeah, they have a community garden. They have more space in their front yard than we do.
If we had the space, we'd consider that too. But the name is simply just to give a geographic designation. Most plant libraries will do that because there's often more than one in the city. And so we differentiate ours simply just by roughly what geographical part of the city we service, which is mostly downtown and South Durham. I've been a quote Google guide for a while. I just like to post reviews when I'm on vacation. But I've added locations occasionally, and I said to myself, well, we could increase the knowledge for the community and traffic by just having this on there. The hope would be that people would randomly stumble onto it, find out that this is here when they were searching for something else, which, based on our SEO, is what happens most of the time. About 25% of people on Google Maps are searching for it purposefully, and 75% accidentally find it by searching for something else, like Durham Library, or seeds, or something like that, or plant store. They end up saying, hey, what's this thing? And they come by. And so it's helped us get more traffic. I've had at least one person who I've been out there working in the yard say, hey, we found you on Google Maps, now we come here. And so it's been nice. It hasn't, led to much in the way of, becoming a public persona or anything, but it has at least made people more aware of it. That if you happen to be looking for something in the area, whether it's one of the restaurants down there or TROSA, the wonderful community organization down to our left, maybe you'll see this thing and say, hey, I'll stop by. Mm-hmm. So it's been good.
So back when we lived in Ohio, so somewhat of a long story, like a lot of people during COVID shutdowns, we decided, we've been thinking about gardening, let's actually try it out. And from getting into the gardening community, we found that there was a plant library that was actually a big community space near us. And then once we moved back down to North Carolina, we were like, oh, I wonder if there's anything like that here. And there wasn't one in Durham. There was ones in Raleigh, and I got in contact with them, and I also talked to our neighborhood association, like, hey, would it be cool if we set something up in our front yard, or if of a community space we could set up at. So we just went with our front yard because there's no community space, unfortunately. But so it's a smaller scale of what we had in Ohio. They had a a converted garage, car wash.
Former car wash. So they hollowed out the bays and turned into a giant community space, 1/4 of which was a plant library. And that was done by a city organization, so it had huge amounts of funding.
Yeah. Relationship there.
Oh, great. They're all really nice, and they were all really like excited that we wanted to do this. Before we moved here, I actually was on a Zoom call with some of them because they were wanting to do a meetup for people who were interested in doing seed libraries on their properties, and just to give out pointers and stuff and help out the new people. Pointers like don't put it too far up your yard because some people might trip and then you have an issue there, and things like that.
And not only that, but before we'd even gotten here, they were already sourcing things for the library for us.
Yeah.
The minute we got here, they were ready to deliver the materials we needed to put it together. And so the overwhelming enthusiasm from the other plant library leaders made this feel like a really doable thing. Because it's a bit daunting when you're moving somewhere and you're like, we're going to do this thing which we've never done before, we've experienced it, but how do you bootstrap it yourself? But luckily there was a whole network of wonderful ladies, mostly, who were very happy to help us put this together and, hold our hands every step of the way. And have continued to be wonderful resources as we've gone on with this.
Correct. Yeah, we have a Facebook group, and that way people can post, like, sometimes they'll post things that are just like, look at this free thing I saw on Facebook Marketplace that could be good for a seed library if anybody needs it, things like that. And we have met up in the past, brought in like extra stuff that we had that wasn't moving really well in our area to like swap. It's just so we have different things on our tables and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I think he's the only man that's part of it. I think it's just mostly because women like gardening a bit more. They are also a bit more thinking about the community, I say in general. And a lot of them are mothers, so they kind of see themselves as taking care of other people a lot, not just their own children. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think. You speak better than I do.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I speak for women, but I can speak for the lack of men, perhaps. And so I don't want to be too direct about this. How to put this? Many of the plant library, without naming names, many of the plant library heads are married, and their spouses are they see this perhaps as their spouse's project. This is something my spouse does perhaps while I go to work, or this is their retirement hobby, this is the thing that they're doing, and that's great for them, that's their lane, I have mine. In my personal case, I'm into the gardening as well, and I also want to support whatever it is my spouse is interested in doing, especially something for the community that I also live in. But I understand that perhaps gender stereotype-wise, there's an idea that gardening isn't necessarily a manly thing. Mowing the lawn might be, but perhaps not getting into the soil and doing this. The nature of, women are nurturers and women are caregivers, and this is something that requires growth and time and motherly love and affection, gender nonsense, all this stuff. And it's maybe just less attractive to some males. I'm not sure why. But that's not to say there aren't men involved in this. We know for a fact that there are other plant libraries out there that have men who run them. This is 100% the case. In our area, it just happens to be one way or the other. Could be regional, might not be. Could happen to just be 100% coincidence. We don't know. But at the very least, I will say that as an outsider's perspective, it has been awesome to see this wonderful coalition of women who have gotten together to do this on their own and collaborate with each other. And they're so nice to each other. There's no fighting. And I'm so happy to not have to go. I don't go to the dinners. I want this to be a woman-led space, and I just don't see myself there. So I do what I can for our personal one, but that network, I'm so happy they have their thing, and it's such a cool little thing they started. And so whatever I can do to support our individual one and to support this broader coalition of women, I'm happy to do it. But I like to think of more as a femme space, and so I do not see myself integrating into it too much.
Oh, they were all for it. They were really excited about it. Yeah. They just said, like, oh, we can put it in our neighborhood paper. That, like, oh, we're opening up this plant and seed library. So then people would know more about it in our neighborhood. So they were really, really supportive.
That's great.
We're blessed with a neighborhood that's very into these sorts of things. This is the Tuscaloosa Lakewood neighborhood, is the name of our rough geographic area. We have just down the street on a street called Huron, the Huron Stage, which is somebody in their backyard has their own music venue that they built from the ground up, and local acts come. They've got a bulletin board, and they post, flyers for the upcoming events, and the community all turns out to sit there and just slap down some lawn chairs, listen to some local music, and get together. And so this is the type of community that was very excited about a new collaborative thing to come in. And like we mentioned, just down the street is TROSA, which is a wonderful community organization which works with former addicts and former cons to give them a new lease on life, get them going in the right direction. It's a nonprofit, wonderful, wonderful organization. And so Tuscaloosa Lakewood happens to be kind of the perfect place to put a plant library.
Started.
So it's pretty simple to do it on your own. We got, tables and stuff for free. Just either people in the plant library community got it for us, or we just found them for free on like Facebook Marketplace or off the side of the road. Yeah, you just, sorry, you just really need a table for plants to go on, and then like a little, like a cabinet type thing with drawers or something to protect seeds and like gardening magazines from getting wet.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just a matter of putting together some raw materials in terms of just physically being able to hold things. Then the next challenge from that is how do you actually get stuff to have? How do you, it's enough to have the containers and say, this is where plant library things go, but how do you get pots? How do you get seeds? How do you get plants? And the first step of that is making everybody aware this thing exists. Because once they're aware it exists, then they may drop things off and pick things up. So the first thing is getting the word out to the community, not just building the physical space, but building the actual community. Getting the Facebook page was very, very in the beginning there. Janet did that and started reaching out to the other plant library people, all of whom joined the Facebook page, and you start building this network and telling other people. And then next was, luckily the plant library people were happy to say, hey, we've got a ton of extra pots, let's drop some off and get you started. But past that, it's been not only just getting things from random donations. We've had some wonderful members of the community drop off huge amounts of things. But Janet's actually been contacting for a while now different companies and saying, hey, we're doing this mission, and we see that you're a wonderfully large seed company. Would you like to make a donation? And bizarrely, most of them want to, actually.
Yeah.
We do, of course, it's a bit of free advertising. We tell people, hey, this company gave us literally hundreds of seeds for free. They just sent us a package and said, hey, please pass these out. Just tell people who gave you. And so we've been able to reach out to other and more capitalistic organizations, sure, but they are willing to donate to this project for whatever reason. So.
Yeah, and then when we make those posts, they go pretty quickly usually.
Yep. No, people come and swap them up. They're like, wow, seeds I would normally have to pay $4 for, and there's a ton of them. So it's very exciting when those moments come. But it has been nice, the willingness of bigger corporations to actually say, yeah, we'll help with this. So.
Redistribution of the wealth in a different way.
Yep. We haven't had to slap an Exxon logo on it or anything yet. We'll get there.
That'd be funny. On it.
Well, if you look out the window, you will see the giant anarchist A on the back of one thing and an ACAB written on the other. So there's clearly some there's some political undertones to this. I feel free to chime in if I'm not speaking for both
go
of us.
ahead.
But we are both of a very how to put this as politely and delicately as possible. We are not as willing as some to openly accept all of the systems in our society that we feel bind people, and that we both think that there are things around us in our society that can be improved and should be questioned. And one of the big things is this idea that you can't do it yourself. You and your community are beholden to systems above you, whether it be government or a larger economic structure or something like that, that says you can't just do this. You have to get a license. You have to get a permit. You have to go through the state and sign all these different things, and form an LLC or a big corporation and go public and do all this. No, we don't believe that. We believe that we can talk to our neighbors and exchange things, and they can exchange things with us freely, happily, and openly. And it is not necessarily openly subverting any of these larger systems, but at least existing alongside them. We don't have to be beholden to somebody else giving us permission to live our lives in a wonderful and good for the community way, a way that inspires growth and connections between people. And so we don't ask everyone has to be an anarchist. I don't care. I don't care if you're a capitalist and anarchist, if you're a Trump voter or a Biden voter. I do not care. Come take something, come leave something, have fun. And we've met so many different people who've come to this plant library, and they're from all different walks of life, different stripes, different parts of town, both rich and poor, and they're all happy this is here. So we like to think that it questions the notion that you have to ask someone for help, that in fact you can help yourself and help those around you. that in fact we can all work together. And that's a beautiful thing, we think.
Yeah, plus it also encouraged people to grow their own food, which free food is, having to pay for food is really annoying that we have to do that in our society, because food should be free. So lots of people will bring vegetable seeds or vegetable plants and stuff, so that definitely will help people actually grow some of their own food.
No. At the very least, we want to give people the knowledge and possibly the actual physical components to start moving a little bit outside of those restraining systems. That the food deserts that have been imposed upon you can be changed in your own backyard. There's nothing stopping you but the knowledge and the ability to do it, and also the materials to get started. And so we're happy to provide that. Which is why also we do keep gardening materials of any type we can get, how-to books, magazines, etc. in there, and we are happy to give those out there all free. And so, it's just as important to have information as it is to have the actual physical components.
Mm-hmm. So, just curious.
It's pretty, for this specific location, it's just us two, really, that manage it. I would say, it's everyone's thing, because we don't really do, leadership stuff. I don't go around, saying, this is my plant library,
We are custodians.
Yes.
We keep it up. But in essence, does belong to the community. We don't, it's not proprietary. So if somebody does take something, I'm not going to pursue legal action against them because, technically speaking, it's a community thing. You're just robbing yourself. That you are depriving yourself and your community of the ability here. You aren't causing me some sort of monetary loss. And so it's unfortunate when somebody takes something, but we don't exercise some sort of legalistic protective nature over it. It's purely custodial. We're just groundskeepers, perhaps, and it happens to be on our property. But again, that's why you can come any time of day. We encourage people after dark. You want to go nuts. It's on a part of our property. We accept people coming on. It's not a problem. You are not trespassing because you came to the plant library at night. Please do. It says this on Google. Till the 24 hours.
We have plenty of people that come at night because they have weird work hours.
Yeah, and so especially in the winter when it's after dark at 5 p.m., we don't say you can't come. It's ridiculous. But that is the idea, and so there is no other person who collaborates in the leadership of this location directly. But of course, we do like to think of the entire plant library network as being a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And so we are just as interested in the opinions of the people who are the custodians of the North Durham Plant Library or the North Raleigh Plant Library as we are in our own opinions. So if they have a new best practice that they're using, we are very interested in trying to implement it.
Yeah, and we just refer to ourselves as seed library organizers. That's what all of us refer to ourselves as.
And you mentioned there's
I think it brings the community a bit more together in general, just because people will meet each other if they happen to be going to the seed plant library at the same time. And obviously we'll do gardening work and yard work out in the front so that we also get to meet all our neighbors this way. And it's really nice because we've lived in areas before we didn't really know our neighbors. But having this has definitely helped us meet more people there's in our area. And then, of course, just the whole, this is a free thing really helps a lot, too, with things. And I lost track of what I was saying.
I've got more if you want.
Yes.
The Facebook group has also allowed people in the community who might never have walked by it to reach each other and also to talk with each other and give these people the ability to start discussing with each other, well, hey, I can bring this thing to you, I can bring this thing to you, and foster the sense of collaboration between people who may otherwise have never met. And then in terms of the environmental angle, it cuts down on the need to go somewhere and buy something and get it transported across state lines. It turns out it's from your neighbor who's happy to walk it over to you. Hey, I'm happy to drive 1 minute to drop this off instead of you having to drive 15 minutes north to a greenhouse. And just cuts down on your carbon footprint a little. But even more broadly, looking at the city of Durham, we're just a drop in the bucket of the community programs that are here in Durham. There's not just the plant libraries, but there's also all the Durham community fridges. There are actually 3 or 4 in the city at this point, and maybe even more now, where you can go and people drop off food donations. And it's, once again, totally free. Then there's the really, really free market that happens in Durham every month, where people bring all these different things from their homes and give them away to each other for free. And food is also distributed at the same time. There's, of course, things like free HIV testing, free condoms, free workshops on any number of different things. We have the Scrap Exchange just down the street, which does free workshops on how to repurpose things around your house. There's a huge network of people collaborating on reducing, recycling, reusing, talking to each other, and just cheapening our lives and making us less beholden to these structures above us. And so the plant library is one small part of that. And so it's not necessarily what is the plant library doing, but it's more about this broader shift in cities like Durham towards what are we all doing? What are we all as organizations doing to make this city a better place for everyone to live, to get to know each other, and to just stop hurting both our, I suppose, financial bottom lines and not be so beholden to them, and also stop hurting our environment. The number of things in the city that are reduce, reuse, recycle, like how can we fix these problems, these big discussions we're having about our impacts on the environment, on the animals around us, everything. And so we like to think that we're collaborating and contributing to this big shift that's happening in cities all across America, not just in Durham.
Oh yeah, and a big thing with what we have out there is a lot of the nursery pots are ones that have been used before by people.
Yes. No.
And they just make sure they don't cut into them. They just, don't want them to go to the trash, so they bring them here.
Yeah, because that plastic is not recyclable.
Yeah, and just a lot of things in general that they have extra lying around their house that they want to give to us is great because they don't want it to go to waste.
Yeah. We're very anti-waste, and so are all these different organizations we're mentioning. It's all about no food waste, no plastic waste, no scrap waste. Everything is how can we reduce these disgusting landfills and reduce things going through our rivers.
Well, I think once you get to know your neighbors and your community, it lowers any crime that happens because now you know the people. Like, you're not going to rob the people that you know, usually. And you're not going to, rob people like, oh, this person was really nice and helped me out with this thing and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to do that. And I think the more people know each other, the less, especially violent crime would be happening.
We also like Durham for one specific reason. So I'm originally from New York, and I grew up in a predominantly white and Asian town. Great place to live, great people. But when I moved to the South, I was like, wow, this is what diversity looks like. There's actually a diverse town, and Durham is a wonderfully diverse city with a huge African-American population, a sizable white population, a sizable Latino population. I'm Jewish, there's a great Jewish community here. We like that this is a community with fewer of these divisions. We want to keep it that way. And the way you keep it that way is by talking to your neighbors, meeting people, collaborating, building projects like this. It has a sizable impact on your community when everyone's talking to each other, becoming friends with each other, walking by and meeting people, and it doesn't matter the way they look, it doesn't matter the way they sound, it's just people. And we believe that projects like this, the community fridges, the community gardens, any number of these wonderful collaborative projects happening, encourage people to talk to people and meet people, which cuts down on bigotry. It's hard to be bigoted towards people when you meet them and you find out they're nice. And we live in a time of great societal division for one reason or another, and projects like this can, at least on a community-wide scale, make people maybe question some of that. That maybe these stereotypes I'm hearing in the media, maybe these things I've been taught are not quite so true, because I talk to these people and they seem great. So perhaps that's all nonsense. And so our hope is that, again, on a very minor scale, we're not going to change the world with one plant library, but if everybody starts doing projects like this, we might be able to have a demonstrable impact on people just being kinder to their neighbors.
So right now we're in talks with Bull City Workshop to actually build up a nicer setup. It will cost some money for that, but I asked people on the Facebook group if they would be interested in either doing donations to fund it and have the students that work with them do it, or if they would want to do a class where you just pay a little bit of the cost of the materials and build it ourselves. And it seems more people were interested in doing the class to help build it themselves. So right now we're just waiting for them to get plans designed for it and find out what that cost would be and figure out a time for that. So the community really wants to actually just meet each other and work together to get a nicer thing done for the plant library. And hopefully it'll be something that won't get taken. It should be more obvious that this is a setup for this than it's just stuff that's near the curb for taking.
Yeah, the idea that we can all actually physically work together to build the next iteration is going to be really fun, we think. That everybody will be able to say that we built this, we made this thing. Not just we sourced it from things that are left on the side of the road, but we all physically put our hands on this and we've put together this new, wonderful version of this. And to that end, we also have new signage that's going to be going up with it, which were lovingly hand-painted by Janet's sister.
Yep.
And they, beautiful, brand new, big letters, including in big letters, please do not take the furniture, which we were happy to put out when that new iteration comes up, as to just reinforce a little bit that you will be robbing yourselves. But no, we're really looking forward to that next stage, growing it a little bit more. And the idea with growing it is not, again, to turn it into some sort of institution or take money. The idea of growing it is just we can physically have more out there. People can leave bigger donations, because sometimes we run out of room. Well, at the height of the season, there'll be plants on the ground because people can't fit them on the tables. And so we'd like to just have bigger, deeper bays for people to put more stuff and be able to leave bigger and bigger things. I mean, absolutely nothing is required but coming and taking whatever you want. And we ask that if you have the ability, the means, or literally the material to contribute yourself, you do so. But it is not restricted to those who can leave. We want everybody to have the access to anything in there. So if you see it and you want it, you take it. That's it, no questions asked. There's no interrogation process. We've had people, can I take this? Go nuts. I mean, the signage out there, they very clearly says you can. With one exception, please don't take the furniture.
Yes, please don't take the furniture.
With that. But that's fine. That's just, if you take the furniture, we can keep this going. We understand you may need it, but so does the rest of the community. So it's the one thing we ask, please don't take. But barring that, any single thing goes. And you can take 50 things or you can take one. It does not matter. If you need it, you take it. We do ask you think of others when it comes to need. Maybe don't take things to sell them. Don't take things on speculation. You might one day need them. Take what you need, we prefer. But we would never interrogate to ask. We just assume if you're taking it, you do need it. And I think that's the honest and fair way to be, as most people really just do that. Some people jokingly take things or leave things that don't make sense. Trash a couple times. But that's fine. There's going to be one every now and then. But the vast majority of people just come and say, this is great. And I see them come back a week later and drop off 5 pots they had sitting in their garage. And they didn't even take anything. A lot of the times, they don't even take anything. They just drop off because they want someone else to have it. So there's no entry barrier to taking. There's no entry barrier to leaving. It's whatever you can and want and need to do. That's it.
Yeah.
Come see it. Take a look. See what we've got. See if anything interests you or sparks any ideas in your mind.
Yeah, and join the Facebook group. The Facebook group is also used for people asking general gardening questions as well. So it's a good start. That's also a good start to join the Facebook group.
And if you get really into it, you say, I don't like traveling 10 minutes for this. Your community needs one too. Yeah. Make one yourself. It's incredibly cheap. It's incredibly easy, and your neighbors will help once you start talking to them. And so there's no competition. That's the thing we always want to really reinforce. There could be 2 South Central Durham plant seed offices. We would not care. We would just be friends with them. Everybody works together. There can always be more. So we want to inspire more. There's no proprietary nature to this.
One of the biggest ones that would be the most helpful is reach out to one of the people who runs one of the libraries to get you connected with the other people. And everyone will work together to help you get set up. So you just need a table and some container for the seeds.
And space where you can legally do this. Because you don't put it on a rental property, you might get in trouble.
Your landlord might have a problem, hopefully not, but some landlords can be weird about stuff like that.
I do not believe there's a single one of the plant libraries that's on a rented property.
No, I think everyone owns their homes that has. So.
Yeah, it's difficult to do this in a sort of a space like that. However,
I don't think anybody has HOAs either.
No HOAs and no rentals. Although I will say there are some collaborative spaces like this that are in rental communities here in Durham that are primarily community gardens, which are also a great institution. We love community gardens. And some housing projects and some apartment projects and some townhomes have started doing that as a sort of incentive, like, hey, we have this fun community aspect and we're doing that. And so we do like that too. The city also has several community garden plots as well, so that's good. To do as well. The number one thing I'd say that I would want to get across that's just a blunt and good message is so many people want to do this. So many people are interested in this, they just don't know it's a thing. And the literal day-to-day of it, the number of people who've come across and talked to us of every ethnic background, of every religious background, you name it, everybody loves this. And I've had kids as young as 6 years old who are playing ball outside in the apartment complex across the street walk over and say, so I can just take this? I say, yep. Like, I've never had a plant before. Go nuts. You're not hurting anybody. Hopefully it'll work out. If it doesn't, that's fine. Just bring back the pot if it doesn't. But like they're just baffled at the idea I would give this to them for free. And the answer is, it's not free. It's yours anyway. This is here for you. You're just taking something that's already yours. Have fun. Go nuts. Do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, and we had a neighbor more recently tell us like she still has the plant that she got from us like last summer.
Yep, it's thriving.
And yeah, it's thriving and how happy she was about it.
Yep,
and that's really nice.
It's nice. And we the way we think about it is there has not been a negative thing to come out of this. Even when we had the unfortunate instance where this is the third iteration of the plant library because iterations 1 and 2 had parts of them taken without permission. And of course, you don't have to ask if you want to take a table, but just know that means we can't put things out anymore. And so we asked people not to take the furniture as you're providing a community. But each time that happened, the community online, the plant library people rallied and said, I have something for you. I have something for you. And they instantly got this back up and running within 24 hours. We've never had it not running for a 24-hour period since May. Even with things going missing. 2/3 of the plant library was missing at one point. 24 hours, we're back up and running. Because everybody just wants this to succeed. It's very nice.